The night was supposed to be perfect, a celebration of our 5th wedding anniversary. I had envisioned a peaceful evening with my husband, Tom, reminiscing about the years we had spent together. Instead, what should have been a moment of reflection turned into the complete collapse of my world. Tom had planned a surprise for me, something special to mark the occasion. His message earlier that day was a reminder of the man he once was, the man who could make my heart race with just a simple text. But instead of excitement, I felt only dread. Because I was in Jake's apartment, his touch still warm on my skin, a painful reminder of the betrayal I had been living. Jake represented the double life I had created, a secret I had nurtured in the darkness. With him, I felt alive, seen, desired. He awakened a part of me I thought had been lost forever. But this wasn't love, it was an escape. A brief reprieve from the cold, silent distance that had grown between Tom and me. When had it changed? When had we become strangers? Was it when Tom started coming home late, consumed by work? Or when our conversations had dwindled to little more than discussions about schedules and errands? Jake entered my life at a time when I needed someone. At first, it was harmless, an engaging conversation over lunch, a shared laugh. But over time, it became something more. He became my secret, my refuge. 16 months had passed since the affair began, months filled with passion, guilt, and the constant fear of discovery. Tom wasn't a bad man. He worked tirelessly to provide for us, ensuring that our lives were comfortable and stable. But in giving so much, he had pulled away. We stopped seeing each other in any meaningful way. Our love became a distant memory, a relic of the past. And in that void, Jake had stepped in. Tonight, as I prepared for dinner, I felt the weight of my choices pressing down on me. Tom's message still lingered on my phone, a reminder of the life we had built together, or at least the life he thought we had. My smile in the mirror was carefully rehearsed, my dress chosen to impress. But inside, I was unraveling. What Tom didn't know, or so I believed, was the deepest truth of all. Jacob, our son, wasn't his. He was Jake's. I had buried that secret so deep that sometimes I even convinced myself it didn't exist. But it was always there, a shadow lurking behind every moment. I had watched Tom love Jacob as his own, dedicate himself to being a present, caring father. And with every affectionate gesture, the guilt consumed me. I had told myself the truth could remain hidden forever, that we could continue this life without ever facing the consequences. But tonight, something felt different. Tom's calm demeanor in his messages, his insistence on making the evening special. It all seemed off. The restaurant he had chosen was one of our favorites, a quiet, intimate place where we had once shared laughter and secrets. As I stepped inside, I hoped, desperately, to rekindle some piece of what we had lost. But the moment I saw him, I knew. His eyes, once warm, were cold and unreadable. There was a quiet rage beneath his composed exterior, a tension that made my breath hitch. He greeted me with a smile, but it didn't reach his eyes. He didn't speak much, and as the evening progressed, my anxiety deepened. And then, when the moment was right, he laid the evidence before me. Photos, messages. He knew everything. He knew about Jake. He knew about the affair. And worst of all, he knew the truth about Jacob. My carefully constructed world shattered in an instant. Tom didn't yell. He didn't cause a scene. He simply slid the folder across the table and let the evidence speak for itself. His silence was deafening. And in that moment, I realized the full weight of what I had done, not just to him, but to all of us. This wasn't just about betrayal. It was about the years of deception, the tangled web of lies that had become my life. What should have been a celebration of love had become a reckoning. The worst part wasn't his anger. It wasn't his disappointment. It was a resignation in his eyes, a finality that left no room for forgiveness. The restaurant, once familiar and comforting, now felt suffocating. The weight of his gaze pinned me to my seat. I could feel my heart pounding, my pulse racing. I wanted to speak, to explain, but the words wouldn't come. Tom straightened, his movements deliberate, his control unnerving. Slowly, he reached into his bag and placed another envelope on the table. Divorce due to adultery. His voice was steady, devoid of emotion. My hands trembled as I picked up the envelope, its weight crushing me. Inside were the documents that would dismantle our marriage, years of memories and shared experiences reduced to legal formalities. "I thought you should know," Tom said coolly. "I've already frozen our accounts. Your things are being sent to your mother's house. There's nothing left for you here." The room seemed to tilt. I had lost everything. And still, he wasn't finished. "As for Jake," Tom's voice remained eerily calm, "he'll pay for this too. The firm knows everything. His career is over." A choke sound escaped my lips. Tom hadn't just ended our marriage. He had ensured the destruction of everything I had touched. Jake's once thriving career, ruined. I looked at Tom, searching for any trace of the man I had once loved. But all I saw was cold, calculated vengeance. He didn't say another word. He simply stood, walked away, and left me there, alone in the wreckage of my life. Around me, the restaurant carried on as if nothing had happened. Conversations buzzed. Glasses clinked. The world continued, oblivious to the devastation at our table. I sat frozen, clutching the divorce papers, as the tears finally fell. I had convinced myself I could control everything, that I could keep my secrets buried. But the life I had taken for granted was gone. Tom had torn it down, brick by brick, until nothing remained. I had lost him. I had lost Jake. And now I was left with nothing.